Hi, I'm Kevin from Skate Yogi, and today we're going to show you how to ride a skateboard. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to figure out is where is the front and the back of your skateboard. Right here we've got two sample skateboards just to help you see two different kinds of graphics. We've got a side graphic and then a vertical graphic. So just kind of looking at this one, for example, got an Alien Workshop with the side graphic. The front of the skateboard is going to be, if you look at it from left to right, the left-hand side is going to be the front of the skateboard. So that's the front. We call the front the nose, so sometimes we'll point at our nose for the kids. And then the back of the skateboard is called the tail. Okay, so that's the front. The front is the nose, and the back is the tail on a left to right board. On a board with the graphic that's printed vertically, such as this cool Enjoy cat graphic, you can see that there's a top and a bottom here. So just simply the top of the graphic there is going to be the front of the skateboard, or the nose. So when you flip that over, you see the nose. And look, they even have some cute cat on the tail. So you got a cool graphic on the bottom to help you with that, the tail. So you might be wondering, what's the difference? It looks exactly the same when you look at like this one, where it's like really kind of hard to tell. Like the front and the back look exactly the same. There is a slight difference. The nose of the skateboard is typically a little bit longer and just a little less steep, where the tail is a little bit shorter and a little bit more steep. I tend to tell my students, though, if they're grabbing a skateboard that they've never ridden on before, it doesn't make a big difference whether they ride it forwards or backwards. What does make a bigger difference is that if you have your own skateboard, as you ride it over the weeks, you'll start to wear in your trucks differently. So you'll definitely feel like your back truck might be a little looser from riding it on your back a little bit more than your front, so that it will start to feel weird if you were to ride your board backwards. So it's kind of important just to kind of keep in mind where your front and your back is. Sometimes people will do little marks. See, this board actually does have a little cutout here, so you can tell. Sometimes I'll take a paint marker and put a mark. On this one, you have the graphic on the tail. On my own personal skateboard, down here you can see that I like to get fancy with the grip tape and stickers and stuff. So that's obviously my back here. I can always tell where that is. But anyway, some people like to keep it simple and just put like a really small mark just so they can tell where the front and the back is, just so you know where the nose and the tail is. Okay. Another important thing about skateboarding is having the right shoes. So right here you can see a pair of typical skate shoes. So they're sneakers with a very flat sole. So the sole doesn't have any extra grip. So you can get an even traction across the whole bottom of your foot. We call that board feel. Now if you had a pair of sneakers that was designed more for like running, where you had much more of a thicker sole in the back or some grip, then when you're standing on the board and you shift your foot around, it might grip too much or not enough in certain places. So we really do recommend, if you're going to try to get into skating, to pick up a pair of flat sole, either skate sneakers or something similar. It's just going to make maneuvering your foot around the skateboard much easier. Let's see, they get really comfy. Get worn in, you can just slip them on. They're like slippers. Nice. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start with just getting on and off the board just to get our balance. Ideally, you've got a little bit of smooth, flat ground to practice this on. You don't need a lot of space for what we're just about to do, but we're going to get started by putting our skateboard directly beneath our body here with our feet on either side of the board. So right now I have my weight directly over the board, so I know that's where I want it to be. And the first step I'm going to do is to take my front foot and put my front foot right over the front bolts there, just a little bit behind the wheels. So for me, I put my front foot on, and that's my left foot. So I put my left foot on the front, and I push with my right when I skateboard. So this is what we call regular stance. Some people will put their right foot on and push with their left. We call this goofy stance, and it's not very uncommon. I would say probably 40% of skateboarders are goofy. It's a really common thing. And if you're unsure, like if you didn't just put your front foot on and knew right away which one it was, you weren't sure exactly which foot or which stance you're in, there's a number of tests. None of them are 100% accurate, but it'll give you an idea. One of them is if a friend surprised you and pushed your back and you stepped forward, the foot that you put in front would probably be your front foot while you're skateboarding. Likewise, if you were to step up to a high platform without thinking about it much, the foot that you put on the platform first is probably your front foot when you skateboard. That's like your stabilizing leg. Couple other tests. One is if you were to kick a soccer ball. So if you planted your foot and then the foot that you kicked the soccer ball with is probably your back foot, because that's similar to pushing on a skateboard. And one more test that I've heard of recently is when you're putting on your pants, whichever foot you put in first is probably your back foot, because you're stabilizing with your other foot. So for that one, you'll have to try that one on your own to check. We won't be able to show you that one. All right, so is that laugh gonna make it in? So back to stepping on the skateboard. I like to break this down in the very beginning into 4 steps: stepping onto and stepping off of the board. This is just going to get you in the habit of making it a very natural movement. So we start by putting our front foot on. Front foot is just behind the front wheels. Then we balance our weight to the front foot and step our back foot on. When we step our back foot on, our back foot is sideways right away, just like that. And we have our back foot kind of over the back bolts. When we step off, for step 3, we shift our weight back to the front, step our back foot off, and then our front foot. So as you saw, it was 4 steps. I'll do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a nice idea to practice that many times until it becomes a very natural habit. Sometimes I tell my students it's kind of like learning how to walk. In the beginning, you really have to try hard, and the more you practice that over and over again, it becomes natural. Maybe you'll be able to do it without looking directly down at your board. So ideally, you're kind of doing that and looking forward a little bit at the land in front of you, like that. A couple of notes. Here when we're putting our back foot on the board, I like to just recommend having the back foot kind of covering the bottom 2 bolts. So you've got your back foot perpendicular, and you've got it kind of right in that spot just at the beginning of where the tail starts to slant up. So you're in this kind of wedge in the back. So another benefit to that is you can kind of even feel it when you're even not looking down. You know your foot is there. Sometimes I see students not paying as much attention, and maybe they'll step their back foot on and step their back foot kind of in the middle of the board or too close. Kind of like when you're just normally standing, you stand with your feet close together. But on a skateboard, you really want to have a wider stance for more stability. So just kind of keep that in mind, and you might want to just visually check that, especially in the beginning, that your foot is all the way back there. So you're doing that, step off and step back on. Great. Once you've done that a few times and have gotten comfortable with that, then you can start to practice pivoting your foot. So when you're actually stepping onto the skateboard, you want to shift your foot sideways. So I guess the yoga equivalent of this, since we're here at Skate Yogi, getting onto a skateboard whenever you're stepping on and pushing or stepping off, you've got your front foot straight and you kind of lunge forward. This is very similar to a Warrior One posture for all my yogis out there, right? But when you're actually on the board and you step on, what you're doing then is stepping on and shifting into more of a Warrior Two. So you saw what happened when I shifted my front foot sideways is it also shifted my hips. So see, when my front foot is straight, my hips are facing forward, just like when I'm walking or running. But when I twist my foot sideways a little bit, then I put my hips in line with the board. And the benefit of this, you can do this exercise, once your feet are wide and they're sideways, you can start to wiggle back and forth and just test your balance. can go back from side to side. You can see that you've got a lot of stability there. You're not going to fall off your board right away. Even if you were slightly off balance, you've literally got some wiggle room there. Whenever you want to get off your board, though, you're going to want to shift your front foot to straight, just because it's going to be more comfortable and ergonomic to step off like that. One question we get from a lot of our students is, do I really have to keep pivoting my foot back and forth every time I step on, step off the board, push? And the answer is yes. In the beginning, I know it's going to feel a little bit awkward, but as you do it more and more, you'll get more comfortable with it. But I do want to just show you a couple tips on how to make that feel a little more comfortable. So when you're stepping on the board, you have all your weight on the front foot. When you put your back foot up onto the board, you can then put more weight on the back foot, so you ease up on the front foot. And then when you pivot your front foot, you want to pivot on the ball of your foot. So when you twist your foot sideways, your foot is still covering the board. You don't want to pivot from the tip of your foot, because if you do that, then your heel is hanging off. Or if you pivoted from your heel, then your toes are going to be hanging off. You always want to keep your weight kind of in the middle line down on the skateboard. So if you use the ball of your foot right there, even when you twist, you'll still be able to adjust your weight from your toe and your heel to keep you well balanced there. So you pivot there, and then you're always kind of shifting your weight from side to side. It's like this. So you can kind of do this kind of in a very slow way. If you want to take it really slow, we like to take it as slow as possible. Some students really want to feel comfortable, and we want to support that. So if you really kind of just want to make sure that you're doing this as safely as possible, you can do it super slow. So it's kind of like a Tai Chi movement here for the 1, 2, 3, 4. As you put your front foot on, and then feel like you're shifting your weight slowly to that front foot until all of your weight is on your front foot. Then you pick your back foot up, float it until you're hovering over the back. Then you put your weight more towards the back, like maybe 70% to the back, shift the front, and then here you can kind of regain your balance like this. When you're skating, you typically want to have your weight a little bit more in the back, just so if you hit a crack in the front, you're not going to immediately fall over, maybe like a 60-40 stance like this. And then whenever you need to push again or to get off your board, you're going to pivot your front foot, and then at this point, shift more weight to the front, and then you can step off with your back foot and then your front foot. Just like that. And then this is something you could even practice indoors. If you're not comfortable on a hard surface, you can practice it on a carpet, or on hard grass is another spot that you can practice, just to get comfortable with the balance of getting up onto your board. Cool. One thing I wanted to talk about, there is one kind of, I guess we could call it like a bad habit that we see sometimes, where students have learned how to skate, but instead of putting their front foot on first, they end up putting their back foot on first. It kind of looks like this, where you kind of put your back foot on, and then you push with your front and step on. My feeling is that sometimes people are doing that because in the beginning, they're not starting off with the board under their weight like that. They're coming from the side, and it feels more natural to put their back foot on. And although this does work in the beginning, we tend to discourage it, because as you start to progress in skateboarding and you're going faster, you're going to find it harder to control your skateboard if you're pushing with your front foot. It's kind of like having a car where you're driving it from the back wheels and not the front. So that would be one thing to avoid. And if you are in the habit of doing that, you can take our advice and just start with your board like this, and just really make an effort to start with the board between your feet and put your front foot on, and try to do that. But if it is something you're still doing, don't let it discourage you. Just know that it's something you can work on. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to start pushing on our skateboard. And the first step is we're going to start right where we were before, with the board right between our feet. We're going to put our front foot on. And for the first exercise, I think it's a good idea just to practice pushing without even trying to get that back foot up on the board. So your front foot is here. Now you want to kind of keep most of your weight on that front foot with your front knee bent a little bit. And then you're going to push off with your back foot. You can start slow, kind of get comfortable with that. The idea when you're pushing is that you keep most of your weight on the front foot, and your back foot, you're pushing with your toe in back of your front foot. You don't want to step with your back foot in front of your front foot, because when you do this, then you're going to be putting a lot of weight on that back foot, and you're going to lose a lot of speed, and it's just going to feel really kind of awkward as you're pushing. What you really want to kind of strive to do is to be pushing back like this. So not much weight is actually being put on the ground. If you think of pushing the board, if you think of like a sprinter starting off at a race, they're down low like this, and they're pushing in back. They're not pushing down. So if you think of the same thing on a skateboard with your knees bent, you push back like this. Okay, so now that you've done that a few times, you've gotten comfortable just pushing the skateboard forward. Now we're going to push off and ride the skateboard for a little bit. So we're going to start as we did before, front foot on, only now we're going to push off, and just like we did before, put our back foot on. Once we're riding, we pivot that front foot sideways, and when we're ready to get off the board, we pivot the front foot straight and step off. All right, so you can see that pushing off and riding your skateboard and getting off, it's the exact same process that we had done before with 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you count it off, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 to get off your skateboard. And stepping your back foot forward off of your skateboard is always going to be the safest, quickest, easiest way off your board. Even if you're going faster, the step off might be a little bit more like a hop off or a quick jump. But it's one more reason why practicing that 1, 2, 3, 4 and making it automatic is going to be really good in helping you, when you're actually out there riding. Like, it's going to become really natural to step off your board like that. All right, now for your bonus tip. So you've got your new skateboard, and you want to know, how do I hold that skateboard? So common ways, probably the most classic way would be with your hand right between the middle, right there. You're holding it kind of like a briefcase. You can also hold it like this if you don't want the grip tape to rub against your pants. If you're waiting at the stoplight and you're ready to skate soon, you can hold it like this. That's another cool way to do it. There is a way to hold the skateboard that is sometimes frowned upon, so I'll let you guys all in on a little secret. If you put your hands on the trucks like this, we call this a mall grab, and the reason it's called a mall grab is because it's kind of like a skateboard that you just bought at the mall, and it's more of an accessory, and maybe you're not really using it to grind and stuff, because if you were really skating on it, then your trucks get pretty grimy. So that's something that's kind of sometimes, frowned upon, but it's skateboarding, so there's no real rules. So now that you know that's called a mall grab, you can go ahead and do it, but just know that that is what that's called. So maybe keep your hands clean and hold the board in the middle. Just hold the skateboard like that. Be good to go. Cool. All right, guys, I hope you found that video helpful. Now it's time to get out there and practice your skateboarding. Let us know how you liked the video. If you've got any topics you'd like us to cover in the future, let us know in the comments below. You can like and subscribe to us here. Follow us on Instagram @SkateYogi. All right, see you next time.